Recording in progress. So continue on what your observations on the sun is, because man, that resonates like crazy with me. And
yeah. So
complete your thought. Go ahead.
Yes. So I've been becoming closer and closer to the sun, to the point that I even saw a video the other day that it's very important that we look at the sun or try to gaze at the sun without contact lenses. And I wear contact lenses. So I start going out in the street sometimes without contact lenses or glasses, or even not looking at the sun through your windows with a glass, but really pure through the air. The sun is a portal. And I mean, I don't need anybody to tell me that. And what I was saying before we started recording is that today I filmed the sun. It's been many years that I take pictures to the sun. I have these impulses to photograph or film the sun. And today I was talking to the sun and he said, talk to me. Because we can give commandings, right? But we keep forgetting. And give me some proof that you are what I think you are, that you are a portal. And the sun showed me many facets and even geometries. Yeah, and huge rays, and then it changed. Okay, you can use your mind and say, oh yeah, it's the camera. Okay, doesn't matter. But to add to that, some years ago, no, not some years ago, it was during COVID. Maybe 1 year ago, I did a sequence of meditations until I got into a state that I was going to meet my soul. How was I created? I got my name by myself, you know. I can say it's the Monroe Institute, you know, it's something that it's an institution that has been for many years doing this type of work. I was by myself at my house, and what I saw when I did it is that we come from a sun. I don't say this sun, I don't know, but it's like I am a ray from a sun. And the information I got is we are all rays. And again, I don't want to affirm this. This was my experience. It was like there is a movement from the center of that light and goes poof. And I am a ray. It was like a ray. Am like a ray at the bottom, at the top of the ray. I swirl, and I am different from everybody else. And I have colors, mixed colors, and I have a sound, which is my name. And I heard the name. And then I had to kind of translate it as I was coming back, and I was giving this information. As I was coming back from that meditation that was very intentional and very well prepared. And they were telling me it's being translated into some kinds of sounds that you can pronounce when you are awake. It doesn't have consonants, you know. It's a little bit like light language. It's a hayal, something like that. There is no consonants. It's very soft. And I had a kind of a sphere below what we call my feet, and it was all swirling in tones of colors. And I had an expression. The closest thing I can tell you is joy, my expression, with colors. And this was kind of my mission. And when I look at other studies I did about self-knowledge and myself, because it's a big thing in my life, it's to know who I am. And I connect with people from all around the world, and I kind of bring my energy. You just need to be. You don't need to do anything, right, to deliver your gift. And you, Law, I know I'm here because you are going to help me, and you're helping me to define better what do I bring and what is my gift. Yeah, but this was my day today. It started with the sun, and then I went out into the sun. I filmed it. I have photos, and it's a portal. You know, it's a portal into this theater, into this quantum field where we are. And so I really got this message. It's really important for you to get out in the sun, because I'm very easily stay at home, read, see your videos, meditate, listen to music, blah, blah, blah. And I forget to go outside. They say, no, really, really catch these rays. And the other day, just to finish, a video came to me, an interview, actually Gaia, and this woman was saying in the hypnotherapy sessions that she did. I think I said this already, that they said it's really important that you allow the sun to go to your eyes. So forget about sunscreen, you know. Sun gives us codes. The sunscreen is it's an invention. So don't worry about wrinkles or whatever on your face. Just talk to the sun and your face will rejuvenate and you also look healthier. So I'll stop here and say hi to everybody. It's great to be here.
Let me just respond, and then I want to kind of just say hello to everybody and let them have the opportunity to do the same thing. But what you're talking about with the sun from a higher dimensional perspective resonates like crazy with me. And here's why. You know, when this new version of our physical being, you know, the light bodies that we're going to carry into crystalline form, that's where our energy comes from. The sun, period. Think about how we ingest our fuel now. We're just taking in different variations of things that have stored the sun all this time. So it was kind of a revelation for me when this awareness started to build inside of me and I could feel something bigger than myself, that I just craved the sun, craved sunshine. Went outside and I was just, my timing was such in the mornings when I would walk to go get coffee, or late in the afternoon, you know, the sun would be just kind of tipping on the horizon. So you could stargaze at it or sun gaze at it safely. Because remember, these are still carbon bodies. You know, yes, we can do all these things, but don't be foolish with your abilities yet, because we need the eyes you have right now for a little while longer while we're still in this incarnation. But everything that you said about solar energy is absolutely true. Absolutely true. And, you know, think more about, you know, the revelations I came to when, you know, we all cheer because we know that the Lemurians have been vegetarians forever. Well, we didn't really let that rabbit hole sink all the way to the bottom until we realized that those crystalline bodies do not require nourishment to maintain themselves with food. No, they eat because they love to eat. Their energy is used in a whole different form. So no one has to worry about where the closest bathroom is. Their metabolism is on a whole different level that we're just beginning to even comprehend. And, you know, I only do that because I like to explore those thought patterns, but really pretty soon it's just going to be second nature to us. And these things we were riding around on, yeah, that we're done with that, just like we're done with learning third dimensional lessons. So I'm going to stop for a moment, hand over to somebody else, but that was a good way to start today, because man, we should see the sun as that. The sun is just another sentient being, and we're just another electromagnetic being. So of course, connection with them, you know, that just comes with the territory. If you want to focus on what that is and what that exchange might provide for you, well, here is a way that you start to connect to things way beyond Earth, because it's just another sentient being. My focus goes on that. It made me think, when you started to talk about it right away, I was thinking of Yegema, because she, in the channelings that she was doing for me, the transmission that came through to her was primarily from the great central sun. Now, I don't want to speak to that because there's going to be a time when Cindy's going to reveal all that too. So I'm in no position to really talk about it, but I can tell you this, that they had asked her a few months ago if she would send their transmissions for us as well. So man, it's really exciting every time that stuff happens. Okay, I think I covered all the material I needed to for now. Who's up next? Paula, we got really do we want to talk about what happened this week? Because I thought at the beginning of the week this was going to be a really easy week. I didn't have a lot, and although by the time I got to the end of the week, it changed dramatically, and I was busy every day with either a podcast I was in, something I'd participated in, and then Paula reached out with an idea that just, look, you can't ignore these things when they cross your path. So do you want to talk about it?
I'll talk about it a little bit, but I'd like for you to chime in as needed. So for myself, I am an evidential medium. And so I not only give readings to people, but I also have a circle of mediums that I practice with. And there's a couple of gals, and myself, a total of 8, I guess. We get together, and we've been getting together for once or twice a week for the last 3 years. So we're a pretty close-knit bunch. And one of the mediums had come upon some information from the Bigelow Institute saying that they are looking for mediums as well as people in general that can connect to higher realms to create a consortium of seeing what wisdom can be brought forward to help humanity in general. But I do feel that they feel like it's timely. Would you agree with what you read on that, Lowell, on the document?
No doubt about it. Initially, their interest was in somehow really, without question, determining that there was life after death, and that it could be connected. So they offered grant money for people that could come up with evidence of these types of things. Well, they gave all their money away, and they gave $1 million away, and they somehow satisfied it from a very academic background. So, here's where science is trying to meld with metaphysics. But now they're at the point where after that first year, they did another all call for people that, have had this. Okay, the study we did last year proves beyond a shadow of a doubt to us that this stuff exists. Now we need to go to the next level of proof or evidence. And so I'll hand it back to you, Paul.
Yeah, so now they're looking to take it to the next level and to see those that connect with discarnate beings or with and or higher realm beings, to see if we can connect and get wisdom to help humanity at this time. And they would refer to past persons that have been able to do this, like Emanuel Swedenborg, Edward Casey, Jane Roberts. So they're looking for that sort of wisdom to come today to help humanity. And so when it first came to me back in maybe mid-November, it was brought to the mediums to see if they wanted to participate in this. And the gals I was with, they said they didn't want to. And then even for my situation, I was writing a book and I was quite involved with that. And I couldn't really put together how I could help with that directly based on because they do have parameters that they kind of want you to stick within. And so I felt like it just wasn't for me. And then the deadline for it was supposed to be for December 31st or January 1st of this year. And so that time came and went. And then last week, it was brought to our attention again that they had extended the date till February 1st. They were still looking for people to help them with this. I don't know if they didn't have a lot of entries and they were needing more people, or what happened. But then it just clicked like a light bulb. Oh my gosh, I think this might be for Lowell. I think, with what is going on, especially since the first of the year, which you've been talking about, Lowell, what's been happening around, what was happening around the first of the year and how it's accelerated and what we've been talking about. I felt like it would be a good idea for us to make a submission just to see if it resonates with them or not. I don't know, to be honest with you, but so that's where we're taking it. And you can continue on with that, I guess, if you wanted to.
Yeah, we're going to figure out. So when I look at this opportunity, what Paula did in the book that she just published, from a reason standpoint, from her due diligence, she was exploring the existence of inner earth, and through these steps and her reason, she concluded undeniably that here it is. And so the next thing that was going to be in Paula's field would be evidence of that very phenomenon. So it almost appears as though Paula helped set the guidelines. Here's a timeline of how she came to the conclusion she came to, that there is an existence in inner earth. And then somehow think about this period of time when she and I finally crossed paths. Wow, here's a guy that can take it to the next level.
To the next level.
If what we believe they're asking for is, yes, okay, everybody believes that this is there. Now we want to talk to people that can do that because that's what we want to do. Well, yes.
Right.
There are those of us in this tribe now that understand that we can straddle dimensions. We can go to the next one. Well, we got one foot in this one. So, Paula, what was it? It's like 3 or 4 days ago when all of this began.
Yeah. It was just a few days ago that I kind of put it together. I said, because I started my book in June, I was guided to start a book. Now, my book probably would fit the classification of being academic because it does have peer-reviewed, traditional sources of going back to our history as in Mesopotamia, right? We started like this, and then we went here and we went there. But within that, between the lines, metaphysics has always been trying to push through and come back into our reality. And it's kind of like we've been pushing it back. And I say that collectively because, we are all in this together. But it's been a push through and then a push back and a push through and push back. But we have constant evidence of the metaphysics trying to come in and push us forward. So mine is a timeline to say, hey, metaphysics has always been involved in all of our day in and day out lives. Whether we recognize it or document it is neither here nor there. It's been there, like we can't avoid it. And so my portion, so when I heard Lowell's story after I'd already finished I guess I'd done the first 12 chapters, I said, oh my gosh, it's real. I'm not just wearing my tin hat. Like, Middle Earth is real. The way that the guides were telling me, they said, no, we're here, we're real. And I said, well, is it just me and a couple other people? They said, no, there's thousands out there. There's thousands, and you just haven't met them yet. And I said, well, thank goodness. And then Lowell came along. And then after I put it together, I'm like, okay, so Lowell resonates with a certain number of people, thousands. In the thousands, I would say we're talking about 100,000s now that have heard your message and resonate with it, hundreds of thousands. So for those that are uninitiated into the concept of maybe metaphysics or UFOs or UAPs, my book would be the bridge between the gap. It would bridge the gap so that people can see that there is a rational path to us connecting back with Middle Earth and that it exists. Here's the rational academic path so that we cannot reach hundreds of thousands, but maybe move it into the millions if people see that logical path. Would you agree with that? That's how I see it. And yours is the meat of it. Mine's just kind of the beginning. Like, let's loosen up your consciousness. Let's loosen you up to this idea. Let's loosen you up. And then yours is the meat of the wisdom that can be carried forward, is what I feel like.
I absolutely see it that way. Yours sets the stage for, okay, this is, I comprehend this. This is reasonable to me. If you stop to take in the information, you'll at least walk away with it, at least with an open mind. Now, if we get you to that level, now we're going to put you in front of somebody that's been there, tell you about it, show you pictures of his illustrations of what we're in. So, this came back, in my opinion, across Paula's field, almost at the deadline all over again. First of all, it appears we both kind of get a sense that they really didn't get the response that they thought they were going to get. And if I kind of glean through, the academia, text in their proposal, it's like, if you've ever applied for any kind of grant, this thing's a bitch. And the timeline, if I recall, just to kind of glance over it, was they were going to make some decisions on finalists by in 3 months. And then, by the end of the year, they'll award, finalists. And I'm thinking, we don't have time for that. So when Paul had reached out and we had this conversation, and I thought, well, wait a minute. I'd been advised that there would be sponsors that were going to be coming our way, not just for me, but for the tribe. So the work that needs to be done, we didn't have to worry about where the resources were going to come from. And we would also get connections to that other type, other than financial assistance, that we're getting all along the way, because now it's our job to use that information and figure out, how to connect it all together. After our conversation, this just looked like we're supposed to be here. Yeah. Here's how you step it up. We knew the law was going to be somehow part of disclosure, just didn't know how that was going to translate. And so along the way, I put these little pieces together. And it wasn't until, I sat down, I think Mary ran some errands. This was the next day after Paul and I had sat. Well, the house was quiet. And so I thought, well, let me just put down my thoughts. I said, here's what I think you want, after I had kind of repeated some of the things that they were looking for in the requirements. After I laid it out, I just shipped it back off to Paul and I said, here's my thoughts. But really near the end, it was like, I made references to the alleged timeline in here and how, I didn't think we had that. And quite frankly, I really can't bind myself to your timelines. Things are too important. So, but if this resonates with you somehow, we would love to talk to you and take it further than that. Now we're going to find out. But we did get an email acknowledgement that, they got our documents and they thanked us for it. So I don't know if it's going to turn into anything, and it might turn into some very big thing. I don't know. Maybe this is where it goes and we launch next. But there is a piece of one of us that doesn't belong in this narrative. Michaela, and what you bring to the table, I'm thinking of Yegyama, and actually, right after Paul and I had this conversation, I hadn't talked to Yaya because she's been on this almost, I think she's home now, and she drove 5,000 miles because Spirit told her to go to, what was she doing? Yes, clearing distortions. So she was going up the California coast and all the way up to Washington, and then on the way back, clearing distortions. So when we think of all that violent weather, because she was there while all that was going on, all those waves of atmospheric rivers were coming through, she was led to understand what that was, and she was clearing distortions. She made a reference to that her guides had reminded her that all of that snow, because there was a lot of it, snow is an amplifier, and it's already in crystalline form. So all of that was just assisting in clearing all these distortions. Man, it was like a lovely idea when it was all over. So Michaela, I'll let you pick up from there. And Paul and I will keep you in the loop on what's going on with the rest of it, because that wasn't just she and I.
Yes. So hello, everybody. I hope you can hear me okay. Can you hear me?
It's good to see you here.
Yeah, I really want to appreciate Paula's work because, you know, she's doing it in this academic way of kind of left hemisphere. And, you know, we are doing this audio series, this podcast about inner earth. And it is more like a bardic storytelling. It is like more to the right hemisphere, more about the story, imagination, and not really explaining things, but going through the way of the heart and feeling. Yeah, so we are going from every side, and it's perfect. Yes, and I felt like I came here to talk about Druidry because you know, I was thinking why this topic is becoming so interesting for us. Like it started to emerge in many conversations and also in your art. Yeah, so even what you mentioned now with the Yedi Maya, it is, yeah, it can be really considered a Druid work. And I'm very happy to hear that. I also myself had some experiences when harsh weather came into play, and it amplifies the whole process. Like not only snow, but also water is kind of connector of energy. So that's just remarkable. Yeah, so I was thinking about the Druidry, you know, why it is so interesting now. And you know, Druids, they are known as those who are standing on the border, at the border of something. Like they are intermediaries between worlds, realms, and polarities. You know, it happens on many levels, and so it gives them many possibilities to work with. And it is all, you know, you were talking about crossing the dimensions, bridging the gaps. Even I think what Paula does is she's bridging that gap between people who are maybe thinking still mostly rationally, and this another world that is sometimes hard to capture. She is bridging that gap, so she's connecting it. She's making it she's making some communication in there, which is really wonderful. Yeah, and so you know, I was thinking about that whole Druid thing because I've been studying it for years in many schools, but I don't think that it is something that one should be initiated into in some order or by some teacher. Maybe Druids are a kind of archetype that can help us understand the tasks that we are here to do. My English, sorry.
I agree with that. I don't believe, you know, you can't go to a school to become a Druid. No, that's who you are. That's part of
Yes.
what your soul comprises of. Yeah, I just see it in people's auras. When I see them come across, the moment I saw you and I began to hear, you know, when you have your expressions about, you know, your relationship with Gaia and natural things, oh my God, well, these people are all coming back to her rescue. They've all had a connection with her that's undeniable. And when you connect at the level that Druids do and other things in the elemental realm, man, when you're that one with it, of course you have command over all the elements because you're just an extension of her. It's wonderful. It's been in more and more in my field over the last few weeks, and that's why you've seen this other artwork just kind of pour out. Well, when Sherry, so here's how all this dovetails into something else. Sherry's been coming up with Sherry Divban and her program to educate kids through her Aramis creative learning. She saw some of the images and asked if she could use them. You should see the content that they're coming up with. Oh my God, these video trainings are amazing, and my artwork has been featured in it. So the other day when I got a chance to connect with her, because I love her, inside of me, these images were divinely inspired. First of all, somebody had asked me about considerations for like copyright, and I went, how do you copyright something that was divinely inspired to you? That really, I don't care how it gets out there. It's supposed to get out there to trigger people. And it did clearly with a lot of people, but we're talking about Sherry in this particular instance. So when she wanted to use it to help illustrate concepts for the kids that are coming around, and also giving their feedback, because that's what triggered all of that stuff. Once she had put a bug in my ear that, yeah, the kids said that there are portals that are opening everywhere. Well, I already had a sense of that the last time I went to Shasta, because I've noticed more areas that are energetically charged than the time before that. So yeah, I see that happening. What would that look like in the next realm? What light influence would that show, so that people could get a sense of, you know, the physicality in their heads? You can hear a wonderful storyteller explain these circumstances, but we can show a picture of what it looks like. Oh my God, you're hammering something home. Anyway, it just occurs to me that I'm just creating all this content for Sherry to use in her training. So whatever content they're going to film, they'll use a lot of the pictures now, and bless their hearts, I think that's what it's for. But every time I cross another path, somebody saw it, and after Sherry saw it and understood that now she has access to the entire archive of stuff that I've come up with, we were going to get together and do a podcast on her channel anyway. So it was nothing but a slideshow. So it's the first time I've ever been in a podcast where I feel like I'm a show and tell. I got to bring all my pretty pictures. And so for a little over an hour, I just kept flipping through the things that I'd seen and what they meant to me. And oh my God, the comments that came afterwards was... I always seem to get really wonderful comments on all the things I do, but these in particular were really interesting. And God, it was fun to be part of it. And the aftershocks for that are not over yet, because that just got published last night, and I think the word's getting out. Well, of course it did. Somebody from Sweden reached out and said that she really resonated with me, and can you show me some more wizards, because I'm connected to that, and how about some elves? You got any of that? And okay, so yes, I found elves this morning, as a matter of fact, but I got a whole archive of wizards that you guys haven't seen yet, so we'll just see where it goes. But Michaela, you should all know, whoever listens to this, she is the catalyst for me really taking any of this seriously. Because it wasn't too long after I found this program that this young lady, who is a graphic designer by trade, a videographer by trade, said, oh my God, that stuff's amazing. You should sell it. That's how I got my stuff onto Redbubble, and you know, one thing led to another. It shook me when I got an email that said, you sold a dress. And I went, what the hell does that mean?
It was me.
Yeah, it was Michaela had found one of my designs of Inner Earth. In fact, no, it was an Atlantis thing, wasn't it? Yeah, that she put on her dress. And so she got it, put it on, and took, oh my God, Mary, my beloved, ordered one right after she saw you in it. So, oh my God, who knows what the hell is going to happen with any of this, but it just, man, I'm just a vessel. It's cool to be it, but I am no artist, not like she is. But look at what kind of divine inspiration gets to flow through me. Oh my God.
Yes, those pictures are very powerful, and even if you wear it on your body, it is really really nice experience. So I recommend to everyone to check your Redbubble account. Yeah.
Well, I didn't,
yes,
that wasn't meant to be a plug, but it triggered a lot of people. So I'm really curious to see how the heck that goes, because that was not on my radar at all. But it's been kind of delightful to see what happens, you know. Oh well.
Yes, I'm looking forward to your any of your new pictures of druids, because they are really, I think people resonate with them so much because they are making them reminding them of something. And it is something very universal, you know. Druidry often was thought to be connected with Celtic culture or with paganism, but you know, for me now, this I call it the new Druidry. It is something else. It is really behind all these concepts, you know. It is more about, yes, it is spirituality, but it's more about some natural ability. It is really about our nature. You do not have to be initiated or anything. It is just ability like any other, or a nature like any other, a craft, or how to call it. It is, yeah. And I think the children, they may be really connected from the beginning if they are supported in this. And I'm very happy that Cherry is doing this work. So it's incredible. Yeah. And, you know, I was thinking about Druidry also in that sense that it is not only connecting the dimensions or densities or worlds, but it is also connecting the polarities. And also, like, Druids were known for that. They many times brought peace when there were two sides that were just before the conflict. Then Druids step in, and as he was looking at it from some other point of view, he was able to create a harmony. So I think this is also an important quality in this world, and also to overcome the polarities in ourselves. So it is very, like, very deep subject for me. So I'm looking forward what will come up.
So am I. You know, I just see them, their connection to Earth and Gaia. I mean, I enjoy that. So I understand that. And when I remember and see others that have just that look in their aura, man, I just want to pick their brains. I want to hear their perspectives. And I know that they're all rallying all at the same time, because look at how many people have crossed my path, and they all look the same way. They look like they're here to reconnect to Earth and take advantage of whatever power that shared energy, you know, it provides for them, just to help in whatever way they can with her ascension. Yes, those people that can sense that, their connection's already established to something greater. So now to bond that, like we're supposed to do as light workers, we're supposed to be anchoring light to Gaia, not the other way around. We know that's every time we do that, we activate another area and leave that energy behind. I dare you to step through my aura when I've done that somewhere and not sense whatever change in the energy, because something hit my ethereal field when I was there, and that residue just gets left behind. Great, because that's what we're supposed to do.
Yes, and I feel that it is very intuitive work, or it is a work that you are connected to the earth through your instincts. You are led to the particular place to stand there or to do something, and you are just following the inner impulses. Like, it is not that you are following some kind of teaching or so. You are feeling it. You are doing what is required. Whatever it is.
That's a really good way to describe it, as instinctive. And that's why you can't learn it out of a book. That's either part of who you are. And that's how you just relate to Earth, or you don't.
Yes. Yes, and I really liked that the Druidry, it is called a spirituality of the senses, or spirituality of the body. And it means that you are really not following some abstract concepts in your mind, but you are feeling in your body, and you are following the instincts of your body. Like when you enter some space, you are not thinking, you are feeling. You are feeling when you feel some sensations in what part of your body, where does it call you, you know, when you were describing how you found that spot on Mount Shasta, it was also like you were led there, you know. It was not that you thought about it or something. It was just attracting you. So it is very important to take these impulses seriously and to follow them. yeah, and to not be ashamed or something, you know. Sometimes it's a bit awkward when you are in nature and you are drawn to do something, and there are some people that Earth is on the first place, you know.
Yeah, I'm not the kind that would shout out regardless of who was around. Every time I went to Shasta, I wanted to find a place where if I wanted to shout, there wasn't anybody around. So it really didn't matter. But I was really mindful before I started that practice to make sure there wasn't anybody around.
Yes, today you have this advantage that many people like are exercising in nature. They are doing Tai Chi or something, you know, so you can kind of hide behind it, or but it is surely it is the best when no one is around and you can be absolutely unrestrained. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, when after my encounter with Kumu and that whole connection with light beings and the idea that I could replicate that, I went back to Shasta in October. So I had my encounters with her in August, and I went back in October, kind of, you know, I wanted to go back and just spend some alone time there. And it wasn't to really integrate with anybody. There were a few people I'd agreed to meet with, but I just wanted to go there back on my own because I wanted to take the things that she said I could do and see if I couldn't call light beings in. There were 3 consecutive days I went to try it, and oh yeah, it worked every time. But again, she gave me these eliomes to cry out. And when I was in ceremony with them, I heard it done before. So I understood what people were doing and how to go about it. But, you know, it wasn't anything that I would have as an extrovert introvert. You don't just shout out things. But once I let that go, oh my God, did they show up? Yes, they did. The first day they showed up, it proof that I can do that. It was between that and the next day when I got home the next day and started to try and drift off around like 9 o'clock that night. I was up and I got some serious downloads that day. That was the first time that that phenomenon had happened, and my mind was active all night long. I just thought I was getting excited about going back up after what had happened that day. I wanted to go back and revisit that. It wasn't until the next morning I got up and I looked at myself in the mirror, and my left eye was all bloodshot. It didn't hurt. It wasn't dry, but oh my God. So now, as of this morning, by the way, this is the 7th time that I've gotten some serious downloads now that I can point my finger at, because I've been paying attention to when these happen. It's always the same eye, and it's always after an evening when I've been active. There were downloads that I've been getting. Now, I'd show you these things because I'm pointing out I'm not the only one on the planet that I know I'm special in some ways, and I was chosen for some things for some ways, but I'm not unique to getting downloads. All you tribe members are starting to feel that stuff. Now we're getting to a point where it's happened repetitively enough, and we paid attention to it with our awareness that now we can start to help others understand when it's happening to them. Because a lot of these physical manifestations will be the same. Our carbon bodies are all the same. It's the same kind of physics. So when we pay attention to those things, we can help others when, you know, they're going to begin to feel things because they're still sentient beings. Just give it a little bit of your attention and you're going to feel that there's something going on that's greater than me, and I just need to figure out what it is. So we're part of the way showers, so that, you know, we were first phase. We're going to get used to these conditions. But every one of us has a little bit different approach. I'm looking at Phil going, I know what Phil's approach is. And, you know, he didn't restore his light language abilities. And, you know, the other things that have come along, the symbols he was describing last week are unique to him, but they have meaning. So, he's just waking up to the things that have been stored away too. And we only could do that once where we could find a place where it was comfortable to have these conversations with like-minded individuals. So here we are. So it's your turn, Phil.
Man, I have a whole page of stuff that just like goes right in alignment with like all of the topics that have been talked about, and I want to touch on a few of them. Infinite, my wife picked this movie last night, and it talked about past lives. Have any you guys heard about it? Infinite. It's pretty interesting. Mark Wahlberg's in it, so it's you got big time actors in it. Anyway, so to tie it all together, I'm new to Druids, so this kind of came across my desk in the last week, and so I'm super curious. I saw Lowell's Druid post this morning, and yeah, that was anyway. So I'm looking for more information on that. Paula was talking about her book, and I didn't get the title of it.
I'll make sure that I put it in the notes for the replay, because I'll have to research and find out what it was. But I know it was just published. Bless her heart, she took one of my Telos illustrations and used it for the back cover. It's so cool. Anyway, back to you, Phil.
Man, Lowell, and that even ties me into just so many other things. And then when I was listening to Michaela, or how you pronounce your name, that it was the remembering of the body, and like was so helpful. I'm like, wow, okay, so there's a lot going through here, and I'm going to try to stay on some type of point. I've spent the last 3 years, I walked out of an addiction facility with 3 questions, crazy questions, and it was like, who is God to me? Like who is it really? Like, what's my relationship with God? How were the pyramids built, and are ETs real? So with those 3 questions, clearly it took me through all kinds of different avenues. But I remember the day I made that connection of spirituality and the study of ETs, and I saw how that all started to come together, and it was just really eye-opening. Which brings me to another point. It's like, I've been to 5 CE5 events. I've been at the pools during the summers for the last 2 years, telling my kids it's a great day to see a UFO, kind of jokingly, but now today they know that I'm serious. I wake up and I look out my massive windows that look at the Wasatch, looking for a UAP. I have never seen a UFO or a UAP to this day, and it's like, what's going on, guys? Like, I'm doing the work. Like, why am I feeling left out? I'm looking at or hearing all these miraculous stories. But to see that evolution of my studies of spirituality dive into that ET, it's like super exciting. But so over the last 3 years, I've been learning. And right now I'm trying to identify my place. And so it's where do I go from here? I'm a real estate agent. I work with seniors. It can be passionate, loving income. I own a small business here in Salt Lake, but I'm not like driven to pursue it. And so here I have gone through this awakening journey. I've learned a ton. So I'm trying to find my place, and now I'm at the point where I know I'm meant to share. And I have this belief that I can create purposeful, passionate income that supports my journey. So then we start talking about Bigelow. Now, I don't have that connection to higher ETs, but I've got to acknowledge the 3D reality of money in my perspective. Well, Bigelow's probably interested in someone that doesn't have that type of connection, but makes that connection. So I guess it all kind of comes together. It's the waking, it's the learning, it's the sharing, and then we have to address the money. I like your artwork, Lowell, is amazing. And so if it's called to, the way it inspires me when I look at it, if it's meant to share, well, let me put a 12-month Etsy calendar together and see if people buy it. You know what I'm saying? Just like where does spirituality, income, and all of that? Because there's other guys like me that are thinking, how can I dedicate this time? Because to dive into this work, it's a lot of time. I mean, we all know we spend a lot of time into doing this, and some think that the information should be free, and to some ways I agree. But on the other hand, like, it's okay to be compensated for the time and effort we put in there, like conscious, enlightened income. It's so
Yeah, let me stop for just a second and address that, because that is very important. We live in a 3D world and we kind of have to abide by her rules, and finance is one of them. But I want to point out, money is just another form of energy. That's all it is. It comes and goes. Sometimes you're in an abundant period, sometimes that you're not, but all of it, when you're in alignment, and you articulated it so wonderfully about, how to just connect with it, and through the gifts that you've already got, just let that expression flow and watch what the universe does when you appreciate, when you put the proper intent out on what you want to get. And the more detailed you can be with the universe about what you want to use it for, it wants to continue to blow you away. So it's going to send you an abundance of whatever your intent you set out to it. If that's asking for financial energy to come your way, watch out, because here it comes. Whatever other floodgates also opened at the beginning of this year, not just for me, there is abundance of crazy proportions coming our every way. So we all, it's just that I didn't pick a lane. It wasn't that I thought I'm going to create these images and maybe there'll be a revenue flow from that, or I was going to, finally put my information together in a teaser and maybe a Bigelow Institute kind of deep pockets, kind of organization is going to see my stuff and finally take it off. I don't know, but along the way, I just kind of kept planting these seeds on things that I was having fun and divinely inspired by doing. And all of a sudden, the tribe shows up. So when I think of, what the Bigelow Institute's going to go, we're not going to fall under the category of one of these $100,000 grants. No. They've been looking for exactly this kind of connection. And my story can't be told without including all of my tribe, all of you in it, not including Yaya in it. Oh my God. All of those puzzle pieces demonstrate that we've got connections. Holy shit. Look at all the tribe that showed up and what each individual gift was. I thought that Michaela had to come along to connect the dots on what this artwork that I had been divinely given the ability to do. She helped channel where that energy should have gone. Thank God she did, because look at the impact it's had. And now we get to hear, I want to go back to Phil, but I want to just point out the whole idea of money. And don't get stuck in the 3D versions of what it is and the only place it comes from. It's divinely inspired. And now, however, all these seeds that are planted, I swear, guys, everyone that I'm connected with, I expect to have their abundance show up. Your hearts are all in the right spot. And you know that you're going to use it for your highest good and the highest good for everybody else. That's all that needed to be said. Watch how the universe responds now, because again, the clock is ticking and it's trying to provide us with every resource possible to get us to the next level. Back to you, Phil.
Where do I go from there? I just think with perspective and money, there's a lot of people that look into my life and just see how blessed I am, and I am. I remember the days walking around and not being able to see the blessings in my life, and so I walk around and I feel blessed. And it's, I was working next to my 80-year-old dad the other day, and it was man, there was a lot of lessons in that day. I struggle with my dad. And so from 2 hours of being there and ready to walk out the door, I asked for some guidance. Like literally, I reached out to my spirit team. I'm like, hey, I need some help here, guys. And I walked back in and I finished the day. And I learned a lot about myself, and I learned a lot about my dad. And the mindset about money, he's going to carry to his grave. And it was a lesson to me. And I have all this abundance around me. It's the mindset that struggles. And so that's something that I'm here to work on. And I believe that's part of my ancestral healing is the trauma I have and the way I view money.
Maybe you're settling some ancestral karma that way. Because, buddy, look, you see it for what it is now. And you also got yesterday a different perspective. Now, I know I always come back to, the situations that we observe are always reflections of ourselves. And I know that's a bitter pill to swallow for a while, because the stuff that's going on around us, we oftentimes see that as happening to us and not really comprehending that if I create my realities, which I do, I set the stage for this situation myself. It wasn't, and the other person at the other end of my attention. It wasn't them at all. It's me and my interpretation of it. So when you stopped and said after 2 hours, I had freaking had it, something stepped away, asked for guidance, and you had a whole different perspective of your father from that moment on. Finished out the day kind of considering it from that perspective. So, buddy, there was growth. And that whole idea about money that your father's carried on, he was conditioned that way by the people that conditioned him before that, and they didn't know any better. Well, we see things for what they are now. You have been blessed with abundance all along the way. And maybe it's your turn to help the karmic cycle within your ancestry to just stop here. I'll pay the price. I see it for what it is now. Let me help, anybody from this point on to see it from that same perspective. So
with the 3 years of the learning that I've done, that's what gave me the ability to see it from a different perspective. And to have the awareness of literally ancestral healing happening. Now I've got to rewind. I come from a very strong, hardcore LDS religion. And the night before, my parents are older, and I just feel like I need to connect and be helpful where I can. And so I was there doing projects, but I just had to share. And I know that they're so close-minded. And I said, the church talks about this great awakening, and I just want you to know it's happening in front of you. Like I was on life support for 4 days, and I spent 13 days in the hospital, and I'm sitting in this chair in front of you. The great awakening is happening, and I'm proof of it. And to the next day of getting frustrated and back into reactive, and that whole to the end of the day yesterday, and see the ancestral big picture. That part was cool. I think that kind of ties in like what my thought processes are. Where do I stand? Where do I contribute? How do I fit in? Let's go. You know. And then the other thing is, I would love to hear about Yaya's Egypt trip, but I haven't heard anything about it. So that would be really interesting.
Well, I was kind of, I baited this out in front of her, but again, in her defense, I reminded her that I would love her to sit in, and she will, because she's back in Arizona. But as I said, she just completed 5,000 miles over 3 weeks, I think. So when she's told to go, she pays attention and goes. And there's a lot more behind the scenes that people don't understand that she kind of leaves behind when she's called to do these things. I heard bits and pieces of it the other day when we were on the phone catching up about what she's experienced and what happened along the way, while all this crazy weather is going on around her. She seemed to be divinely kind of skipped around and through a lot of this stuff. So that, yeah, she saw a lot of it, but she didn't experience it. But I think one day she was in some heavy rain. Other than that, she was there to clear, and the distortion she was there to clear. And wow, saw some things that validated it for her too. So, you know, when she says that, that carries some weight because she is definitely connected. She's eager to get back to connecting with us the way, because that whole time, like in December, she was just really withdrawn like the rest of us. And kind of, it wasn't that she'd had it, but she was just in a place where there were other influences that you had to sort out. One I learned in a tough lesson, where when Yaya was first explaining, you know, when I would have other aspects that would come in and communicate, I had first expressed, I'm open to anything. Well, that was a mistake. And I didn't really understand that, because there was an entity that came in a really awkward one shortly after the transmission with a group where we thought we were beginning to understand this light and how we've been advised on what it is and how we're going to be adapted to it. I thought that what happened to me in that transition was going to be an example of these activation ceremonies, and that others would be affected in the same way. It wouldn't be until the end of the year that I understood wherever I was carrying wasn't going to be a ceremony anyone else was going to have to go through. Oh, no, you didn't have to get next to Lowell. You didn't have to see him. You didn't have to hear him. What he was carrying was for all of us. And when that day came, we had been advised many things have to line up before that's going to materialize. And I just left it for what it was. I guess they'll get back to me. Well, when I talked to Yaya finally between the holidays is when her guides said they have something they want to communicate, and it was still be discerning, be discerning, be discerning. So, and they knew that my focus had been on the information in the golden tie-up information, which I'm settled with what I need to do with that. I know it's not to get out there and beat people over the head with this is coming, this is coming. No, we're going to be the calm, cool, collected people that can tell you what that document means. Does it have validity? Hell yes. Does it have a timeline in it that you should be concerned with? Hell yes. But I'm not suggesting that the timeline is hard and fast. I believe, like many others, that that timeline could be a lot sooner than we think it is. But everything that I hear, feel, I will communicate loudly right now to anyone that's listening. I've been told, my guide said I have 2 years to get this done. I feel that. But then I feel that every morning when I get up, I feel one more solar jolt, and here we go. I've seen it. I know where we're going. I'm anxious to get back and never return to this 3D white noise that none of us really want to deal with. Everything that we've been wondering and waiting to come is about to come to fruition. And we all just need to prepare ourselves and make sure our vibration. That's what we remind each other. Keep your vibrations high. Even my beloved's been asking, when we laugh, does that keep my vibration high? Oh, hell yeah. Yeah. Just keep laughing at me and we're good to go. There's more of that energy that's coming. So that, consider that that's that light that you emit no matter where you go. People are going to see and hear you a little bit differently. I'll bet the temperature in the room, Phil, after the first 2 hours with your parents was different than the last part of the day. And that even they felt something was different. That's how your light works, pal.
Yeah, my dad cried and I hugged him when I left, and I felt I was on purpose. And so I jumped in my van. I was driving my work van, and I out loud I said, "Hey team, how did I do? I'm open to feedback." Like literally, I wanted to know. And I have a little sister that had that has passed from addiction. And I told her, I said, your opinion, like your opinion has priority, because she knows the chaos. She knows what I just went through. But it was cool, and yeah, there was some growth there. There's some. I had a good week.
Buddy, you're blessed. Cool. Glad you're here. Thanks for sharing it, because it was
Yeah.
time to do so.
Always good to see you guys. Thank you.
Mhm. Well, I kind of feel like ending there, but I don't want to discount, because I know Fatima has sat here quietly. I'm sure you have some observations, and I want you to be able to contribute them.
I have observations about everything that was said. Paula, Michaela, Phil, I wanted to tell you that I also have a brother that passed out of addiction. I also had a very challenging father. And just to tell you, you're not alone. I mean, we have very similar stories, more than we think we do. And it's part of our journey for some reason. I've also had to learn about money these last 6 months. I think I've learned now. I will not share now, maybe because you're about to finish. Well, I just wanted to make, I hope I see you again, Phil, so then we continue this conversation. Michaela, this is a very technical comments. Michaela, you mentioned you recommend an account. Did you say that? Did you say a name of an account? No?
Yes, you mean where Lowell has his artworks?
Yes.
Yeah, it is redbubble.com.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Redbubble, and you surely can find it on his website, I think. Yeah, there's a banner with this or something. Yeah.
Thank you. Question 2 was about Paula's book and what is the title, but I don't know if you want to wait for Paula for next time.
No, I will. I just have to research it, and I'm gonna have to dig it out. I know it's in whatever documentation we had submitted, so I will put it in the description for this replay, so you'll be able to find it there. And if I can find a link to Amazon, which I think she said to the book, I'll make sure that I put it in here.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Another comment was when we started the conversation about proof of life after death. I just wanted to leave a name of the person I found up to now that it's most developed on the research, on these kind of researches. She's an amazing, sweet, and humble woman. She's in Brazil. Her name is Sonia Rinaldi, and she has the support already of an academy called EPATI, which is a transcommunication academy. They give her engineers and everything. And so she has been able to record sounds and voices, images. She's helping a lot of people with deceased people. She gets phone calls from deceased people. She has information from Nikola Tesla. So it's really very interesting. We can develop that in another conversation.
That sounds like a lot of parallels, doesn't it?
Yes, she's amazing. She is amazing. She has smoke. She creates spaces and environments for them to appear. They communicate with her. They make an effort they stand by to be present through her experiments. She has laboratories and everything. So I've never seen anything like that. Sonia with an I, Rinaldi, like an Italian name, with I. So if you are interested and want to do some research, I think you'll be amazed. Yeah. They are really like they're alive. They're just in another realm. I've lost a lot of people, brothers, sisters, parents. Yeah. But there is communication. I also see what you call ghosts. I see them like they're alive also. So it's just another platform. And they want us to know that. So the veils are getting very, very thin, very, very thin. And the 2 years you talk about, law, okay, I wrote 2025. the 2 years, we know that time is accelerating for everybody, right? Everybody feels it. But the thing also at the same time, in 2 years, we're not going to be the same. In 2 years, the quantum jumps that we do, they can happen in a second, like it happened to you. I wonder where we're going to be in 2025 when that happens. So we are getting ready. And you are accelerating us also with these podcasts.
Yeah, I'm responsible
Boom,
for some
the
of these
motor.
triggers.
That was great
well,
to be here.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Michaela, do you have any closing thoughts, honey?
Maybe just one little thing about the money. I am the only one who didn't say anything. So for me, it is an element to motivate me to give out my best, because when I have this experience, and many people does, that if we are really in our authenticity, and if we are bringing the service that we are meant to bring in its full size or scale, then usually people feel it and they react to it and they want to support us. So, I am bringing service in the field of art, and I feel it like I gradually am more and more courageous in my artistic expression, and it is what resonates with people. So this growth is just natural. Yeah, as we are really deciding to step into our power and into our true service. That's all.
Agreed. Phil had mentioned when he was talking about people's perception of money and how the information we're getting should be free, and I totally agree with that. Totally agree with it. I don't really charge anybody to come into these podcasts and replay them. I don't charge anybody, but the time that you wish to have with me, that's where you're paying for my time, not the information I've got. I'll give you the information I've got all day long in the mechanisms I can. But if you need one-on-one time, yeah, there's value to that. And that's what each one of us need to remember. Your time and the content that you've got is special. It's meant to be shared with everybody else, but there's a value associated with it. This is the world we find ourselves in. So we're going to play this game, and we're not going to lose one iota of our self-respect for what it is we bring to the table, because no one else has this. Not me, not Phil, not Fatima, not Michaela. No, our gifts, like everyone else, are unique, and there's a demand for them. So we're going to leverage that, because the resources we get from it, again, isn't to put it in a bank in the freaking Bermuda that never made any sense to me. When we just store money away, we're taking away its flow out of the universe. I've just interrupted the flow. What point did it do to just store all that up over there so that it doesn't get into the collective? Makes no sense to me whatsoever. That's why I believe that once this really starts to crank out, we're going to have more resources to do more stuff with. And none of us are worrying about putting in the bank to call ourselves a millionaire. No. We just want resources to perpetuate the stuff that we get to do. I am good. So stand by for what happens after that, because I just see the floodgates opening. Go ahead, Phil.
No, I was talking to my 19-year-old and maybe getting caught up with that word money, is I was just telling him, like, man, I'm just looking for more flow. It's just enjoy what you're doing, find some passion about what you're doing. And he knows I'm on this discovery. It's like, I am blessed. I'm just trying to navigate the flow. I want to enjoy. I want to contribute. I want to inspire. I want to and balance in that. So I'm excited. Things are looking good.
Mission accomplished.
Yeah.
Okay. Unless anybody else have any final thoughts. All right. Well, thanks for being here. I'll see you. This is Saturday. It feels like Sunday. I'll see you here live next week, and I'll post this up in an hour or so. So see you all later. Thank you very much.
See you. Bye-bye. Thank you so much.